Hello viewers, you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Ali Sise, and it's your time for your weekly State of Affairs program with my co-host Sidi Sise. Sidi.
Thank you very much, Ali, for having me.
Good to have you on the platform again.
Thank you.
You've been so busy, right?
I'm always busy. I have to, try and sandwich these programs.
Well, viewers, that is Mr. Sidi Sise for you, my co-host here on State of Affairs program. Well, this week we are looking at a very important department. I mean, though not many people know about what they do. We're talking about Gamworks, which is the Gambia Agency for the Management of Public Works. It's an autonomous agency responsible with managing public work by government and other development partners. They implement most of the projects funded by the government, and then of course, this includes public enterprises and public institutions. And joining us this week to discuss in detail about what Gamworks do, their challenges, and some of the projects they have been implementing and plans to implement. We are joined this week by nobody but the Director General of Gamworks, Mr. Omar Gay, who was actually appointed in April last year, 2021, but effective in May, and he replaced Mr. Ibrahim Cham, who actually retired. By the way, Mr. Gay is not new as far as Gamworks is concerned. He's been there since 2004 until the time he was elevated last year, and he has served as the technical director of Gamworks. Mr. Gay, thank you so much for coming on the State of Affairs program.
Thank you, Mr. Sise. Thanks for inviting me.
To start with, I mean, I've talked about what Gamworks do, but could you just share with us, where did you derive this mandate from?
It's derived from our article and memorandum of association and the framework agreement signed with the government of the Gambia. You said a little bit in your introduction about Gamworks, but I will go further to elaborate that Gamworks was created in 1993 by the government of the Gambia and the World Bank, and the reason being trying to see how to implement projects not only for the World Bank, but for other development partners with efficiency, with impartiality, with autonomy also, so that there wouldn't be influences from the outside. So we were created as a company limited by guarantee, with the members having no share capital. And then we have this framework agreement for government to give us projects so that we can implement projects. And the projects that we normally do are for the public interest, and that's broad.
And since then, how has the journey been for Gamworks since 1993 to date? I mean, it's quite a long period.
Well, I think we have done a lot in terms of development projects for the government, for the country, in nation building. Since '93, when we started the PWC, BP Public Works and Capacity Building Project, we have grown from the World Bank to the African Development Bank, to the Islamic Development Bank, to OPEC Fund for Economic Cooperation of it, to up to now, BMZ, GIZ, the German corporation. So yes, it's been a very good journey, and I think we have been and implemented development projects in almost every nook and cranny of this country. So I would say that we are a success in terms of delivery, and we are a success in terms of supporting government development agenda all throughout these years.
And let's now look at the composite structure of Gamworks. How is it structured?
As I was saying earlier about our article and memorandum of association, we have a board, and the board is comprised of non-profit associations. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce, the National Youth Council, GALGA, this is the Association of Local Government, the Gambia Bar Association, and one more, and Tango, the Association of Non-Government Organizations. and they are members that do not receive dividend, and they, as you know, corporate structures, they have the responsibility of appointing the Director General and approving the budget and things of that nature that you expect the board functions. And so that's the structure at the corporate level. At the agency level, you have the Director General, and then you have two departments. You have the technical department, which is like the operations department, and then the finance admin department as a support unit to take care of both human resources and financial management of the institution resources and also project resources. And at the technical department, that's where we do studies, engineering, management, selection of consultants for design studies and supervision of works, procurement of goods and services, and the like.
I think I have to bring in my...
Thank you very much, Ali, and thank you very much, Mr. Gay, for that brief intro as far as the mandate of Gamworks is concerned. You talk about the public infrastructure, the work that you do for the public. But when you looked at Gambia, the unemployment, and as far as the youth is concerned, is quite a lot. How is Gamworks working with the youth as far as to break the gap of unemployment?
One of our mandates, Gamworks, in the implementation of projects, is to see how our projects can create employment. And one of the methods that we try to use is making sure, instead of using heavy equipment, we employ labor-intensive methods, technologies, so that we can create employment during the implementation of our projects. So, and this has really helped in not only creating the temporary employment, but permanent employment, because since the beginning of the agency, we have been building capacities of both consultants and contractors in establishing them to make sure they grow from just an individual to a company that can employ a whole range of trades. And most of them, they happen to be youth. So the temporary employment is there for labor-intensive technologies, but also the longer-term employment, because when we build capacities of those contractors, they don't need to wait until they get contracts with Gamworks to employ their youth. They will be continued as serious contractors, and we have helped to grow the construction industry in many ways in that manner.
Thank you. When you look back in the history of Gambia as far as your institution is concerned, we have PWD then, in the Public Works Department. I just, Ali, you remember?
Yeah,
yes, PWD. Yes, we had PWD, and now we've seen Gamworks. In contrast, what is the difference what PWD was doing and today Gamworks is doing?
Okay, I wasn't employed or in the workforce when PWD was in existence, so I may just give you context.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
PWD, well, I live not too far from the main PWD headquarters in Banjul, and I remember that they have different sections, carpentry and mechanical and many other. And I didn't know of even the engineering aspect, but I saw that they would used to do roadworks. I remember some streets in Banjul when they used to use the cockle cells to do roads. Now, that's not Gamworks. We do not do, so I would think that self-implementation of government activities, whether it's roads, whether it's making furniture and fixing government vehicles. We are more into engineering management, project management, implementation of projects. So we are more bureaucratic in the sense of professionals, engineers, not technicians, laborers, having a large workforce like PWD. We are lean and trying to be efficient, trying to be transparent, have set goals and try to meet those goals. So somebody may have to explain PWD, what it did and what it used to do. But Gamworks is different. We are more into project management, engineering management, and implementing projects from one to the next. But still, working for government and development partners, sectors, agencies, associations, all again for public interest.
Finally, can you just tell us a few of the projects that Gamworks have managed in the last couple of years?
Well, sometimes when people ask projects, people normally say buildings. When we talk about projects, we're looking at the agreement that the government signs with a development partner. So in the past couple of years, we've been doing the Gambia project, pilot project, that is through ECOWAS, the German corporation, which is about 10 million euros. We're doing it in partnership with GIZ, who have another 7 million euros to do capacity building and training. We have also done the Rural Infrastructure and Development Project in the past couple of years. We've done the Sukuta to Jambanjeli Road, and currently the GGC project, this is the Enhancing Value Addition
On Grano
project. So these are the projects that we have been implementing. Now, within those projects, like for example, the Rural Infrastructure Project, which people may not be familiar with the project, but they will be familiar with some of the interventions within the project. Like say, for example, I think everybody has seen the new building for Banjul City Council and KMC. These are I think
that of Brikama as well,
and that of Bilkama.
About the Bassa Market?
Yes, the Bassa Market. That's not project with donors. That's actually from the national budget. That we did for the government and Bilkama Market. But even Bilkama Market, we had done under the Rural Infrastructure Project a first part of the market, but that's not where the inferno took place. So we have done the Bassa Market and then Bilkama Market. Yes, we did the Bilkama Council building, and also Jangjambure, and also Kontaur, but those are not really visible because they are in the rural area. So, but they're actually more elaborate because we also build staff quarters for them. So, and there are a number of roads also done, and markets like Latukonda Market, extension of Soma Market, and the like, and a number of roads in Banjul, a number of roads in KMC have been done.
Yes, earlier on you talk about the support you give the contractors, I mean, to build their capacity. I mean, do you have any monitoring mechanism to do a follow-up after building their capacity, to know the impact they're having on our society?
Well, the monitoring mechanism is inbuilt, because if you train someone on how to prepare bids, you will when you receive bids, you will be able to see that they are employing the knowledge acquired. If you have given them training on contract management, how to do valuation of the works, when you receive their claims for payment, you will see that they have done the evaluation. So and then when they have done it and they are claiming far higher than they have done work, you have to sit with them. And through this process, you make rectifications. So those are follow-up monitoring mechanism to see that they are employing the trainings that they are receiving from us.
I mean, you talk about the many projects that you've implemented. You talk about the Bassa Market, Brikama, the Jambanjeli, and all other projects, and of course the Gambia pilot. I mean, project GPP, which you are implementing in partnership with GIZ. But in terms of standard, I mean, it's something that so many people really tend to question as far as some of these projects are concerned. I mean, when you talk about infrastructure-wise, I mean, how much do you attach to standard and quality in implementation of projects? I mean, Gamworks here.
Well, I don't want to parse words, but we need to define standards first. Yeah. So what standard are we talking about? Because as an engineer, engineering standards are one. Yeah. You don't have different standards.
But why are they not the same? Sometimes I know city will come in here. I mean, if standards are the same, then perhaps others are compromising them.
Yes, yes. I can answer this in this way. Okay. Like I said, engineering standards are the same. Okay. Now, I need to qualify that because you have the British standards, you have the American standards, you have the Euro standards, but they follow the same principles.
Do you have Africa standard?
No, we always. There are some countries. There are some countries in Africa that are trying to build their own standards, but generally, just to avoid reinventing the wheel, you sometimes have to piggyback to the American standards or the British standards or the Euro standards. And that's not only Africa. Even if you go to Asia, if you go to India, if you go to, for example, when highways or bridges are being designed, the AASHTO codes, this is the American highway codes, they tend to be the ones that are being followed. And even, I could wager that even the Euro codes has to absorb and take some of the standards from the AASHTO codes. The same for roads. For example, when we do roads in at least the English-speaking world, the British overseas road nodes tend to have done a lot on tropical road construction, so that you mostly would reference that, and not the AASHTO highway, because AASHTO does not really look at tropical in our environments. Now, still trying to answer your question. Standards being what they are, where you have difficulties is in the specifications, materials available, because you will agree with me that most of the materials for construction in Gambia are imported, except for two materials.
What are those?
Sand and water.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Gay. I think let's open this wider. When Ali talks about standard, and we looked at defects that happen after projects have been handed over. You talked about KMC, Banjul, Brikama. I can tell you, as we speak right now, one of those buildings, I don't want to name names here, one of those buildings has begun to have defects. This is one of these council buildings. Probably, I can tell off record. But somebody is sitting there saying, city who like to be a straight shooter doesn't want to say the particular building, but again,
I can equally guess, but I wouldn't.
Let's proceed. We can talk in general terms.
So those are some of the things, the defects that happen.
I can
and then
answer.
Coming again with standard. When you're building roads, we have seen roads here. Gamworks have supervised a couple of roads. The famous,
a few more than a couple.
The famous Jambanjeli Sukuta Highway.
Jabang Highway.
I mean, let's take Jabang out of it because
well, the name of the project is Sukuta to Jambanjeli.
Okay, so we have seen some defects that have been shown on those roads. In fact, I and the director of National Road Authority had to have a lot of push and pull for them to come and fix it. And at the end, he had to come and get his men to do it, because he kept saying to me that the road has not been handed over to them yet. But I don't know, after being officially opened by the president. And again, the Jambanjeli Highway in the community, where you have the drainage, that's still an issue, because the last few years, flooding has happened in Jambanjeli, where people have to lose their livelihood. So that's where Alu or I would consider Is it substandard, or is it somebody has not done their job properly?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll need to explain defects.
Okay.
Whenever a project has been completed during implementation, depending on the size of the project, but generally 5% of the payments to the contractor are retained, and at handing over, 2.5% is released, and another 2.5% of the total contract sum is kept as retention money for the defects liability period of 365 days, 1 year. So the contractor is put on notice that during this period, any defects that are identified, it is his responsibility to fix. Defects and wear and tear are two different things. If you break the door locks, if you break the glass from the windows, if you misuse the toilet and the plumbing has problems, those are wear and tear issues. But where the plumbing is defective, the contractor has within 365 days, depending on the severity. Sometimes, if it's not too severe, they will like to wait towards the end and see some total of defects and fix them. Sometimes it has to be addressed immediately. If you have a leaking roof, for example, you cannot wait until the end of the defects liability. So that's how and then the contractor is held, because you have the money, is held responsible until those defects are addressed. Otherwise, he's still on contract. So the certificate at the handing over, it's provisional. It's called provisional handing over. When it's I'm ready, and you take over the building or the road or whatever, it's provisional. And then at the end of the defects liability period, that's when you have the final certificate of completion. Now, with regards to some of the council buildings, like say for example KMC, when we had this rainy season, there were a couple of leakages on the windows and a few other spots, like the expansion joints and stuff, which we have addressed, and there were other things that...
Did you gather anything from Brikama?
No. Yes, we have, sorry. Okay. We have, and we have been addressing them.
Okay.
We have been addressing them, albeit slowly, but the contractor, we have been on top of the contractor, addressing the defects. And not only those two,
when you said you have addressed this issue,
we are addressing them.
Okay, when you say you are addressing them, what exactly are you doing to address them?
Say it again. What's the question?
What exactly are you doing to address them?
Remember, Gamworks is not the contractor. Yeah. Gamworks employ the contractor, and we are holding the funds of the contractor to address those defects. So if it's a window that basically is leaking during the rains, we will write to the contractor and say, this window is not properly fixed because water is still passing through. So the contractor, will be called upon to come and fix the window at his cost. At his cost to fix it. So that's what we do. Because we still hold the funds. Now, when the contractor refuses to address any of those defects, then we use his funds and call another person or tradesman or contractor to come and fix those defects with the funds that are available.
And this brings us back to the substandard or standard I was talking about. Are you disappointed that such a project in less than a year you start seeing some problems?
No.
What does this tell?
The reason why we have defects liability, the reason why we put these things in contracts, because it is envisioned that there will be human error, that there will be substandard work, there will be possibilities of things happening that were not foreseen, that we don't know about. So that's why you have these things in the contract. So human error happens.
So let's fast track now to the Jambanjeli highway.
Okay, you mentioned Jambanjeli, the problems there. Now, during the studies, in terms of to design the road, in Jambanjeli itself, and that's true of Jabang also, and some other intersections where we have culverts, we realize that water is coming through at certain points on the road. and we try to create the necessary hydraulic structures, drains, culverts, to allow the water to pass through. And we did that in Jambanjeli. We did that in Jabang. Jabang has the biggest culvert, and some
even though it's now blocked by some buildings.
No, but that's a different story.
Yeah, I don't know. I
if you want to address that, we can address it.
We will come to that, yes.
But that's a different story. But in Jambanjeli, we address the water that is coming through. That is coming through, which is far less, but still a huge quantity from that in Jabang. That's why Jabang has a bigger culvert. So upstream of Jambanjeli, we couldn't take care of. Actually, if you look at Jambanjeli, it's the only section of the road that has street drains, because we realized that we need to collect all of that runoff from the road, from the adjoining streets, to take it to that culvert, to outfall it down. So we have done what's supposed to be done. Now, we cannot block the water coming, nor can we channel the water that after the road all the way to Sanyang. So we went almost 200 meters, allowing the road to go 200 meters, and we did that road actually concrete. It had to be concrete, because if we make any other material, it wouldn't last. So that's what we have done. So we did proper engineering there. The fact that the water is coming, we cannot control that. That's a drainage issue. That's not part of the mandate, even though the drainage issue within the corridor of Jambanjeli is taken care of. If you come to Jabang, we realize during our studies that this is a major passageway of serious quantity of runoff. And if you look at Jabang, the road is very high, because we had to create this big culvert to allow the quantity of runoff to pass through.
So you've done your job well in Jabang.
Yeah.
That of Jambanjeli, I'm not too sure.
Okay.
I'm not an engineer, but what I'm saying right now, let's look at this too. I mean, Jabang, the problem that is happening is man-made now. It's not Gamworks, it's not nature, it's your big culvert. If you look right across, there's a bakery, there's a house. After the wonderful job you've done, that waterway is blocked. When you come to Jambanjeli, the drainage that's supposed to have been there is not built properly, because the slabs, the concrete slabs that they put there, the water is so powerful it collapsed. So the water is not having an exit. Water is coming, but it's not having an exit. So what it does, it goes into people's houses.
No, that's cleaning the drains. It's not. When you clean the drains, the water passes through.
So this brings us back to, do we have a national plan on drainage in this country?
Not that I know of.
No, because when all these roads are built and we don't factor drainage, and two, what is your relationship with NAWEC when projects are on? I'm going to use this word, and I know some will not like it. Either somebody somewhere is either reckless or pay no attention or have a laissez-faire attitude to what actually happens on the ground. Because you see, many of the defects that happen on the Jambanjeli-Sukuta highway is being created by NAWEC.
Not necessarily.
That I'm aware of. I'm aware of, and they are happy. I'm happy for them to come here, and we trust this out, because they went and laid pipes at areas when the job was already done. And when they do this, like the roundabout, the second roundabout of Java, was dig out for NAWEC to do that work there. And after that work, that's how they left it. They did not properly take care of it. And they did it in many of the side of the road. So I want to know, when NAWEC is going out to lay this pipe, or when your work is in progress, why can they not come and work with you guys to do the job properly? Than waiting for all the beautiful work to be done to standard, and they come and just do whatever they want to do with their labor force, who seems to think that, they have to get all the breads in the shop and eat and then pack up and go home.
Now, I will frame it in that manner. We have been working with NAWEC hand in glove, not only in this project, even the Westfield Sukuta and any other project. And that's true of Gamtel. where we look at utilities and relocation of utilities, and this project has been no different from others. Whether we're looking at buried pipe or overhead cables, we have worked with them. One of the problems that you've seen is not the fault of NAWEC per se directly. It's a problem that was there long before the road was built.
So why didn't put the road there?
No, I'm coming.
Okay.
There are a number of lines, NAWEC pipes, on that corridor, because you have to remember that the well fields, that the raw water comes there. There happened to be a pipeline that was meandering on the corridor when there was no road, going from left to right, to left to right. When the as-built of those drawings were given to Gamworks during the studies, it was shown that it was on one side. But when we started implementing the project, it was realized that actually that particular line, it was just one line, is just playing along the corridor. So that had to be relocated at some point. So that's what you're saying.
So Mr. Gay, I have to interject here. You guys have seen it before the road was implemented, right?
Yes.
So why you didn't get NAWEC to come and do it properly?
No,
rather waiting for it the road to be done.
No, that's not the responsibility of NAWEC, so to speak. We took it upon ourselves to make it part of the project responsibilities. Because if NAWEC because in the end, that pipeline ended up costing about $2.5 million. So that's not something NAWEC can do immediately. So the government consulted with IDB, who were funding the project, and this 2.5 million. Remember, this was discovered as the road was being built.
So if you tell that to anybody listening to this program, they'll wonder, what sort of institutions do we have? If now we cannot have records of pipes.
Yeah, but I don't want to beat on
No. I know I have to get NAWEC here. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to beat up on NAWEC.
Yeah, exactly. But Mr. Gay, now, I mean, with all what has happened, for example, my colleague here, Sidi, is talking about the Jambanjeli Road. I mean, now, what is the role of Gamworks in addressing that issue? He's talking about the pipes and, of course, water blockage and all those things.
Which water blockage, veins or water blockage pipes?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Both.
Okay, well, there's no water blockage with regards to the pipes. The water is moving with regards to now. I don't think the
recent rains, we have seen what happened on the Jabang Highway.
With regards to NAWEC?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know of it, to be honest. I do.
But aside from that, I mean, in terms of what's been happening, I mean, you said, a percentage is kept from the contractor after the project is being implemented.
Yes.
But after that, what role does Gamworks play?
No, when we implement a project and it's satisfactorily handed over, there is always an owner, so to speak. When we go to the end of the defects liability period and we reach that point, the 365 days, there is always an owner. Whether you talk about roads, and we know who owns the roads here, when we do the KMC.
Who owns the roads?
Well, the National Road Authority is the custodian of all roads here. So that's.
But have you officially handed over that road, the Jambanjeli Road? Because the last time we understand that road was yet to be.
Well, as Mr. Cisse had.
Can you confirm to us that this road has been officially handed over to National Road Authority?
Yes. I have explained here that there are two handing over processes.
Okay.
When the road is ready and the contractor claims to be ready and we do an inspection, you hand over the road. So that's handing over has taken place. And Mr. Cisse witnessed, the other Mr. Cisse, CD, I forgot that there are two Mr. Cisses here. CD witnessed the inauguration by the president. Yeah. And
I was there.
I enjoyed it. That has taken place.
Yes.
Now, at the end of the defects liability, then we do the final handing over. If there are defects, they are addressed, and then it's just now just a matter of administrative paperwork, signed by here, signed by these parties, and that administrative work if that's been looked at as has not happened, but we have been in touch with NRA to finalize that aspect of
But
it.
why does it take you so long?
But the defect period have elapsed now.
Technically, it has not elapsed because we have not signed those papers.
Okay, but can the contractor still be held responsible for defects?
Defects that are because again, like I said, if defects
wear and tear, I know.
Yes, if like say for example, you said now come and cut the road, you cannot hold the contractor.
Yeah, but you said 366 days, for example.
No, it can go to 400 days if the defects are not fixed.
So
it can get to 500 days if the defects are not fixed.
But what I don't understand here, why will NAWEC just come and cut the road without informing Gamworks in this case?
I do not know of this situation where NAWEC cut the road, to be honest.
No, but you said, for example, where NAWEC perhaps might cut roads just to lay pipes and all those things. I mean, why would they do that without consulting Gamworks?
Well, normally they will contact NRA because like the authority for roads is NRA.
NRA, okay.
So if they have contacted NRA, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't know.
And let's now look at the local capacity, the capacity of Gamworks. How is the capacity like? Do you have the capacity needed to be effectively implement your mandate?
Of course. We have a lot of engineers.
Oh.
We have qualified engineers and other technicians at our institution who've worked many, many years at varied fields to implement projects. And we have been implementing projects throughout the life of Gamworks, and some of us for over 25 years in terms of project implementation, whether it's a national budget, whether it's donor funds, and we understand donor procedures, donor rules, procurement rules, all of these things. Yes, so the capacity inside of Gamworks in terms of staff is unquestioned.
Thank you. It's everybody's business, especially when you have an engineer sitting right in front of us.
Yeah.
We have seen what global warming is doing. We've seen what the rains are doing.
Yeah.
We've seen what happened the last 48 hours in Basse. I mean, it is not actually Gamworks' mandate, or it's Gamworks' mandate, but right now we have an engineer before us who is heading a public works department.
Not a public works department, an agency, that implements public works.
Public works, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We earlier on I talked about the master plan on drainage.
Yeah.
And like you've said,
I don't know of one.
You don't know of one, and I've also looked and I've not seen one.
Yeah.
We know there are some streams, the Kotu stream, the Tanje Creek.
Yes.
You know, there are few of these.
Yes.
When they are properly designed, or either we keep them how they are for water to flow, which means probably we have to knock houses down and here and there because some people have sat on the waterways. As a technical person, as an engineer, you know, what will be your advice right now if somebody has to come to Gamworks and say, you know what, help us to look at how do we put up together resources, capacity in building up a master plan for drainage in this, because it's needed. We either do it now or, you know, we're going to find ourselves in a bad place.
Well, the two watercourses that you have mentioned, the Kotu stream and the Tanje Creek, these are natural drains, watercourses. All runoffs basically outfall to the streams, which outfall to the ocean. So this is natural drainage.
Yes.
Now, as the urban sprawl is taking place, we create more impervious areas, meaning more pavement. I need to do a little bit of teaching here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's important.
When you have, say, for example, Commonwealth of 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it was mostly vegetation, small villages, vegetation, even farmlands. So basically, water will come down and infiltrate through the ground. Now, you start to develop Commonwealth, and you start to increase the total runoff that is going into Kotu Stream and Tanje Creek. because instead of water infiltrating the ground because of the hard surfaces, the concrete surfaces, whether they are roads, whether they are houses, whether they are pavements of compounds, that water is not going through the ground. So you are creating more water to run off to those streams. So that increases the total quantity of rainfall that has to be drained out. So the quantity 50 years ago that was on Curtis Stream or on Tiger Stream have increased, multiplied by, I don't know, I haven't done the calculations to tell you, but these are calculations that should be done through hydrologic analysis. And the hydrologic analysis will tell you how the water is running off, where it's running off, and at what frequency, and depending on the rains, at what velocity, which basically looking at the drainage area. So if you do not do the hydrologic analysis, you won't be able to come up with the hydraulic systems, which is the drainage systems. Now, before you're able to do the hydrologic analysis, you have to have certain data, the topographic information, take the survey work, both in terms of land, physical survey, and aerial survey. And a lot of times, some of these things through Google Earth, you're able to see. But now for data, for information that you need real data that will give you the actual, how the contours of the land is to know how water will flow. And then based on that and with the hydrologic analysis, you are able to come up with the hydraulic systems. Now, this needs to be done in the GBA. And
GBA means Greater Banjul Area.
Yes, yeah. and beyond. And beyond. Yeah. But at least we are living in the GBA, so it's a very good example to, because we can say that needs to happen. Now, as I was explaining, if you put up these hydraulic systems, the drain, and we spoke about when you said, Jambaja said, no, you just need to clean the gutters. One of the problems, and you've seen it in the built-up areas where you have drains, like Serakunda, like Caraba Avenue, like even in Banjul before, you have a lot of sediment deposit on these drains. Now, that tells you something, that you cannot have drains and have sand. That means the drains and the roads have to go together. Okay. You have to create a lot of impervious to save the drains. Otherwise, every time the drains will be full with
what?
Sediment, with sand. So it is not functioning to its design capacity. So these are problems. So when you look at the totality of the project, the problem, it's both drains and roads, and they go together. And by the way, drains are more expensive than roads, for your information. So if you were to look at the GBA, when you do the study for the drains, then it affects actually everything with regards to urban development. So in the end, you will have to create a better master plan for the GBA to take care of drains, to take care of roads, to take about transport, to take care of the environment. Because as much as we are creating housing, we're creating roads, we're creating development, the green has to be there also. Because I just said, the more you pave, the more runoff you create. So we need to also, and I think, because the reason why I'm saying this, because you mentioned climate change.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is, as much as we want to put pavements and buildings, we should try to see how we also encourage the green. And sometimes the runoff we create cannot all go to the drains at the same time. And that will still cause flash flooding, even though you could have all the drains Now, how do you control that? These green areas will do that, because you can create retention and detention ponds in these green areas, where it will hold off the runoff for some time before it gets to the streams.
So can I fault the engineers of this country for the problems that we're having? An example being, we have seen heavy pour rain in the last 48 hours. And you go to Jabang right now, the water is flowing. Perfect. Water is going with high speed, traveling, and nobody is suffering in their homes because they have cut the roads. So for me, if we had proper engineering in some of the areas that we developed, we would not be in this place.
Well, if you do not assign me a problem, how can I be responsible for not coming up with a solution?
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, if there's proper engineering,
Yes.
and it's not only engineers, there are others who will have to be there.
To be involved.
I mean, from the meteorological department, to take the necessary data. It starts from there. To take the necessary data to tell us what kind of rainfalls we are having and the patterns of rainfalls we are having. Because based on that the engineers do their designs. The other day I was hearing someone say the last time we had this type of rain was in 1988, 34 years ago. And yes, that's incidence interval. That is important. But what we need to know is the rainfall intensities and for how long and what type of rains they are, whether they are 2-year rains, 5-year rains, 10-year rains, 25, 50, 100,000 years. The Americans in Kentucky had 1,000-year rains and they were flooded. Well, their drainage structures were not designed for 1,000-year rains. So yes, if you have engineers being involved and others, because there are upstream people, the surveyors, yes, the necessary photogrammetric metric surveys, land surveys are done, and then the hydromet office, or whatever they call it, water resources.
Yes.
I don't know what the name is.
Hydromet.
It used to be hydromet.
It's still hydromet.
But then the engineers, maybe they are collecting this data and they can tell you whether this is a 2-year storm or for 2-hour intensity or 24-hour intensity. Maybe they have this. And then the designers, if there are designers for this drainage system, these hydraulic systems, get the information, then you will, and you know the land, the terrain, how it's built, how it's formed in its natural, and the type of soils that you have there, whether it's vegetation, whether it's hard soil, with, and even the soil types, to be able to come up with the right engineering design. But again, like I said, if this task is not given, you cannot blame and say, we have tons of engineers and they're doing nothing. I cannot be blamed for what's happening in Jabang, even though I have an idea what is going on, but I do not have, as an engineer, I do not have any right to intervene. As the Director General of Gamworks, we have not been assigned any task to do. So would you blame me? Would you blame other engineers? No. When we are assigned and then we do a bad job, then you could say the engineers did a bad job. But for example, I know the problem of Jabang. It's not Jabang. The problem starts from Unum all the way to Tanje. And people cannot make the connection between Unum and Tanje because they are far from each other. Yeah. But that's the stream. That's the creek. It starts from Unum and passes through Jabang. So what you have is a creek that is dry because it's not getting the type of rainfall intensity to make it look like a stream. But at the Tanje end, you always say it's wet. Yeah. So now, if there was work done, I'm not saying it's not done, in terms of the topography of Jabang, one would have seen, and the whole corridor, one would have seen this creek, this stream, that it exists. And one could do something about it, both in terms of design of the estate and the rest of the other adjoining properties outside the estate. If there was an EIA done, if there was a preliminary engineering done, I'm not saying they're not done, these things could have been identified. And then you will create a buffer, easements, to allow, and you can always design and have the footbridges or even normal culverts along, and you still have the estate, along the creek. But again, solutions can be done, can also be proffered even now with the way it is, because the fact of the matter is a lot of these structures are there.
So if we come in here, Mr. Gay, Gamworks, do you actually bring up projects or projects comes to you?
Both.
In the sense, okay.
Both.
So, and you know for a fact that we need a master plan on drainage. Say we have it here come next year. Would you bring something like that for us?
No, but even if the master plan cannot be done within these 12 months. There's a lot of preliminary
But you
work.
can come and say, we started doing something.
Well, you start doing something based on the availability of funds.
Exactly.
But I mean, we know that Ministry of Environment, various ministries are...
Yes, and
there is early warning signs and all these things.
By the way, the Ministry of Environment has this very big project on the Koto Stream, which we are an implementation partner to.
Oh. We had a lot about it, but we've not seen anything. This has been going on for a couple of years now.
No, to be fair, it's a grant, and this grant was approved by... no, it's not been approved actually. This month is when it's going to be approved. Okay. It's the order, the tourism diversification project that was approved by the World Bank. It's still environmental in a way, and the coastal area that was approved in April. And this Waka project, the Koto Stream project, is expected to be approved by the World Bank this month. Okay. But there are a number of activities that have been going on, like I said, this past year. I think it's unfair to think that engineering can happen in 2 days. Like I said, just the data collection, survey work, order analysis, to do EIA, and to me, if you want to do a proper job, it has to take time.
But failure to plan?
That's what I'm saying. That's failure to plan.
That's where we are in now.
No, yes, that's true. But I'm looking forward.
Okay,
let's
move forward. Okay.
I'm looking forward how you solve the problems, not what caused the problems. Okay. The problem has already taken place.
So, I mean, what will you identify as some of the key challenges, hindering the work of Gamworks?
Very interesting question. In terms of our day-to-day activities, there's nothing hindering it. Because when they get the project, we go through the processes, whether identifying the intervention, the necessary collaborations with government departments, selection of consultants for the design, procurement of works, all of those things, and all the government institutions that need to support the activities of the agency are taking place. Now, coming back to the point, to answer your question in terms of, see this point in terms of us doing something, we do have ideas, and we sometimes provide ideas, but what you will realize that whatever idea, say for example, if we're to do something on this Tangier stream, there's a particular government ministry that's responsible.
It's interesting. I'm being informed that time is up. I mean, I'm afraid we will cut it down. I know we will invite you again to come back and we can discuss more about Gamworks and all these areas that you highlighted as an engineer as well. There was the Director General of Gamworks, Mr. Umar Gay, who was our guest this week. Mr. Gay, thank you so much for coming on the State of Affairs program.
Thank you so much. This is new to me, but very important.
Thanks, sir.
I see it as an opportunity for this to be an expose of what Gamworks does, and also to tell the general public that we do a lot of work in government sectors and government itself, that we're here as a tool of government to implement its development agenda.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Gay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gay.
Mr. Sidi, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sidi. Well, viewers, on behalf of the production team, I was your host, Aliou. Do join us next week. You can also watch this broadcast at YouTube, of course, at QTV Gambia, and the program is also repeated on Sunday at 10 a.m. On behalf of the production team, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.